How do you menu plan in 30 minutes or less, especially when you are a little bit overwhelmed by having a whole lot of green stuff that you need to use up before it rots in your refrigerator? If you don't know me, I'm Hope. This is Under the Median, where practical frugality meets real life. I'm not gonna lie. I was getting ready to do our weekly menu planning and I am more than a little bit overwhelmed. And I told Larry, grab the camera because this is real life in action. People tend to think that I have everything together and everything comes easy. No, not the case. This week, we had a super busy week, which meant that I kind of resorted to easy dinners on the go, which did not necessarily involve all the fresh stuff that I already had in my refrigerator. Well, we belong to a CSA, a community supported agriculture group, which means that once a week, we get a bushel basket of fresh produce every week throughout the growing season. So because I hadn't adequately used those green things last week, we picked up more CSA produce this morning, and I realized that I had completely run out of room in the refrigerator. So I wanted to just make a really quick video and show you guys, what do you do when you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the stuff that is in your refrigerator? You want to use it up before it goes bad, right? So I'm going to kind of run through what I do, show you the steps, and show you some of the forms that I use to make sure that we throw out very, very little food. Let's run through the things on the table one at a time. I have 3 of these. This is a kohlrabi. My kids always called these the alien plant when they were growing up because it looks a little bit like it came from another planet. One of the things that people don't realize about kohlrabi is that these leaves, albeit a little bit thick and waxy, are very edible. That's one of the things that we really focus on, is trying to use all the parts of the plants that we can so that we are spending less at the grocery store and we're using things up adequately and not throwing things out in the garbage that could be eaten. Because these are waxy, I am probably going to take these off. They freeze super well, guys. Anything that is a dark green that has a thick stem in the middle, especially like in the middle of, when it gets a little bit further into summer, you're gonna find kale that has thicker stems. It freezes well. You can use it later in different recipes. I'm gonna strip off these leaves, stick them in boiling water for literally 90 seconds. They become bright green, they are done. Plunge them into ice cold water, put them in freezer bags, make sure you label them because all deep green vegetables look the same in the freezer. After a while, they look exactly the same. So make sure you know what is in the freezer bag. They'll stay in there for 6 months to a year. When you have an abundance of things, like clearly I do, you need to make sure that you're creating a plan to use up, number one, the things that are going to go bad. You're going to use those first, the things with the shortest shelf life. Every single week, I do what we call a perishable food inventory. Usually I do it on Thursdays. I just admitted to you this is Saturday. It's not been done yet. Here's an empty perishable food inventory. Guys, this has become my lifeline. When I started using this system, that's right, system. System is the watchword, guys. When you find yourself consistently overwhelmed and throwing things out, food that you pay good money for because it's gone bad before you can use it, if you will create a system which you use every single week, it will help you so that you throw out less food. This perishable food inventory, I probably created it 4 or 5 years ago. We consistently use it. On Thursdays, we empty the refrigerator, take out all the items that are perishable, and we create this list. Make sure that the items at the top of the list are the items which have the shortest shelf life. Those are the items you're going to use up first. If you have something on the table like these baby potatoes will probably last the entire week. They'll be perfectly fine to use in another 6 or 7 days. However, when you have something like this head of lettuce, you want to use it up before then. When you have these greens that are radish leaves are edible, but you can tell these have been in my refrigerator for a full week. They're looking a little bit wilty. This is going at the top of my list. You can make amazing, and I do mean amazing, radish leaf pesto with this. The pesto, by the way, freezes really well, and that's another tip. Make sure that you know how you can use items so that they freeze, which items freeze really well. This, not gonna freeze so well. This, when I make it into pesto, gonna freeze really, really well. I put probably 1/4 to 1/2 cup increments in leftover yogurt containers. Stick it in the freezer until it completely freezes. Pop out the little pesto cubes, stick them in a bag, label them, put them in the freezer. They're good up to 6 months to a year. When I know that I want to make pesto pasta, or they're really good, it's really good over brown rice too, guys. I just made it that way last week. It's amazing. Then you can just pop out one of those cubes from your freezer bag, thaw it, and it's good for enough of the brown rice or the pasta to feed a family of 4 for an entire evening meal. And it's super inexpensive because remember, you're using these leaves, which most people throw out in the first place. So make sure that you're effectively using things. Let's look at a couple other things that I have. This is arugula. It also has been in my refrigerator. It's washed, it's ready to use, but I had so much of it and it's sitting in my refrigerator. So one of the things I'm going to do is make a list of ways, what can I do with arugula? That's when I start looking at recipes. Now I have something called my recipe inspiration sheet, because what happens is I wind up Googling recipes and I'm thinking, where did I see that recipe? And I haven't a clue where I saw that recipe at. This helps me sort of organize. I'm a visual learner. If you are a visual person like I am, tell me in the comments section. Once I see it, it's in my brain and my brain starts organizing everything into different buckets of information. It makes it so much easier for me to be able to organize all the information once I've seen it. And I'm going to show you, once I get done showing you all the things on the table, I'll show you the perishable food inventory. So you'll get kind of an idea top to bottom, how it all panned out. And then I'm going to show you the next step, which is the topical menu planner. I do not cook every weeknight. It just isn't necessary. For most people, it's not necessary. You have those planned leftovers. For us, 3 to 4 main dishes a week, that's going to feed us for the entire week. So I do my entire menu plan topically. I'll show you that in a hot second. I'm going to show you a couple of other things that are left on the table. Cucumbers. These are going to go, look, cucumbers, lettuce. I've got some green onions on the table. I see salad in my future. Of course, that's one thing you can do with lettuce. What else can you do with deep greens? Well, my friend came to the rescue. Carla, not even knowing that I was having this issue with all of this green overload, sent me a message on Facebook and said, hey, some of my customers, because she grows kale particularly in her garden and sells her excess kale, she said, some of my customers just don't know what to do with deep greens. And she said, I can hardly even pick my kale without thinking, what would Hope do with this? Which I think is a very nice compliment. And she said, I made a list for my customers. Check this out, guys. This is all things that you can do with kale or with other deep green leafy vegetables. That's the next tip, guys, is just start Googling. What can I do with leaf lettuce? What can I do with kohlrabi leaves? What can I do with radish leaves? What can I do with fill in the blank? And you're going to come up with a list of different ways that you can use that vegetable. Did you know that you can roast radishes? They are the most amazing thing roasted. I didn't know that for years until I started Googling what all can I do with radishes, because I was experiencing radish overload at one point 2 or 3 years ago. And I found out that by roasting them, it brings out a natural sweetness. They are absolutely amazing. You are going to start Googling what can you do with all of this stuff. The other thing you can do, I've had this in my refrigerator for a week as well. Rhubarb, I don't know. Are you with me on rhubarb? I have a hard time with rhubarb. I feel like I can eat it, but I need to be really creative how I cook rhubarb, or I'm like, I just don't feel like I know what to do with it. This happened also a couple of years ago. I wound up with a half a dozen rhubarb recipes that I really, really like. Rhubarb salad dressing. No joke, it's really, really good. But I began Googling, I like put things together. What can you do with rhubarb and kohlrabi? No joke, I found a lady that made the most amazing little tartlet with these two ingredients plus some other things added to them. So you might try that too. Google a couple of ingredients combined together, because your goal, remember, is to use it all up before it goes bad. Okay, quickly, what else is on the table? We have two bunches of green onions. One of the things that you might want to do, because people tend to use the bottom, these are huge green onions, are they not? These are really, really big. People forget that you can eat the tops of these. There are a few exceptions. There are a few vegetables that you cannot eat the tops of them or eat the leaves of them because they're toxic. So you want to make sure you can eat it before you chop it up and serve it to your family. These are edible, but one of the things that I have found is if I'm really not going to go through these fast enough, I chop these up, I put them on a Silapat lined tray, and then I freeze them in the freezer. Once they're frozen, I take them off, I put them in a freezer bag. The reason you want to put them in a just a single layer on the baking tray is that they don't stick together that way. If you put them directly from cutting them up to the freezer bag, they tend to stick together, but they'll tend to stick together far less often if you just freeze them individually, then put them in the freezer bag. They'll last 6 to 12 months. And once again, what are we gonna do? We're gonna label the freezer bag so that you remember what's in there. I also have some spinach. One of the things you need to know is know the order of using your greens. This head lettuce will not last as long as this spinach. It's a little bit hardier. So on my perishable food inventory, you're gonna see that the items, once again, shortest shelf life, gonna be at the top of that inventory. What did my inventory look like once I got all of the vegetables that are on the table inventoried? Here's what it looked like. Start at the top, work your way to the bottom. You'll notice that I said like what the quantity is that I had, and then it was like, is it a bunch? Is it a head? Is it a bag? In what form is it stored in the refrigerator? It helps me be able to find it super fast. Next step, before you plan your menu, look at your calendar. Do you have a shared family calendar? A lot of people do. Are there nights when something's going on when you know I have to have something ready to go? I can't put something in the oven. I can't prepare something that night. It's just way too busy. Make note of those, because when you make your topical menu planner, then you're going to make sure that you say this item is going to be used on Tuesday night because we have bowling that night, or Wednesday night we have Bible study that night. So we know that we're going to have to get out of the house to get there on time. Anything where your schedule is crunched, go ahead and assign specific meals to specific nights. Now, when you're doing your specific meals, topical menu planner. Now you can plan, if you want, you can plan Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's fine. You can do a daily menu plan. That works really great for some people and they absolutely love doing it that way. But if you want to plan just blocks of things that you're going to make together, so you've got 4 main dishes, some side dishes, some salads, some soups, some desserts, that sort of thing, the topical menu planner works really, really well. Now, if you are enjoying seeing some of these forms that we use all the time, it is our system of menu planning that saves us so much time and so much money. You can have your own copy of all of these forms. It is in our menu planning made easy bundle. I'm going to make sure, guys, there's going to be a link to it in the description of the video. When you're menu planning, I showed you that recipe inspiration worksheet that I use sometimes to make sure that I'm tracking what recipes I'm looking at for what ingredients. You can track online resources or you can grab cookbooks. Guys, I love cookbooks. I really like stuff that is in my hands. This is Cooking Under Pressure. This was from Madeline and Under the Median Viewer. Also, just this week, I got these cookbooks I will show you. I have desperately been wanting these 3 cookbooks. And Jenny sent these to me this week, and Under the Median Viewer. There's that one. There's this one. And this one, so much fun. She shows in this cookbook how to cook with scraps that a lot of people just throw away, but parts of plants that are edible. I told you that's one of my things because I really like using every single part of a plant that I can. So grab your cookbooks, plan your topical menu. What did the topical menu look like when I got done planning with all of this stuff sitting in front of me? Okay, guys. Out of all this stuff, and I do not have to go to the grocery store for anything. That's the other thing to consider. Make sure that, first of all, you're using pairings. I talked to you about using pairings of ingredients that you already have in the house. Make sure you're using and making the most of all the ingredients you have in the house before you decide, I need some extra ingredients and I need to go to the grocery store. In this case, I'm not going to the grocery store at all this week. So this menu plan was everything that I have in the house. And you'll see that I got 4 main dishes, 2 soups, 2 salads. I think I got a couple of side dishes on there. And on this other, where I say other, like if I'm gonna make sure that I blanch and put things in the freezer, prep it for later, save it for later, dehydrate it, that's gonna go down there on that line just to remind myself, get this done to make sure that it gets processed and gets into the freezer. This system, this perishable food inventory menu planning system, is one of the ways that we were able to cut an additional 20% off of our grocery budget. And it was pretty lean to begin with. Now, if you're looking for more ways to cut back on what you're spending on groceries, take a look at this video. I gave you 25 kind of unusual ways that we cut back on our grocery budget. That video is right over there. It would be the perfect one for you to watch next.